Board. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So yeah, that's been something that like I will definitely want to talk to a listing agent about is like what is the accessibility, to this
Yeah,
property. Hi, good morning. Okay, everybody. So we've got some great numbers this week. So just to confirm, this is the average of all the numbers since I've been tracking August 1st, 2022. We're coming up on 2 years. I can't believe it. That's crazy. Um, and then like this is the number from last year. And so this number is an indication of this against this, right? So this year versus last year, but it's good to see the average. And then we're also able to see what was going on last week. So when I'm bouncing around and I'm talking about the numbers, that's where I'm coming from. So huge increase in active listings, 15% at 1872 in Allegheny County, single family residential. Um, the average is negative 2%. So we saw a huge increase over active listings because of this. Look at her right there. Holy cow. Total new listings in the last week up 41% from last year. So man, oh man, I know I said it the last couple of weeks. Look at a perfect time to list. If you've got a listing that's hitting the market next year, come back, look at these numbers and be like, hey, seller, let's list the first week of June to stand out. Stand out because otherwise you're one in the crowd here and there's going to be, more competition. So just a really good, like 2% here would be a good, like the end of May into the first week of June. Great time to list, in my opinion. But also from the buy side, hey buyers, we typically see a nice little increase here at the beginning, or middle of June and into July. Just hang tight. There's going to be more inventory. So just a really interesting number there. 41%. Great number. Pendings in the last 7 days is up 2%, excuse me, from last year. Nice little swing from last week. I think last week, maybe we saw some people, traveling, doing, vacation things or whatever, but we're now seeing a nice little positive number here going into July. Total sold is 2% up over last year, just a little dip from last week, but at 263, it's actually up from last week, which is great. 28, look at that. We're seeing all these new listings are getting gobbled up. We saw a nice little increase here. I want to see, there it is. Look at those $1 million homes that sold last week. Look at that. Huge numbers for last week in terms of $1 million homes. So there's where we're at, 349, 333, which is a really nice average for Allegheny County. It's definitely up. In general, our average is more like here, but a year ago, this average number here was like 270. So we're seeing about a 20K increase in average sales price in Allegheny County. Just FYI, side note, that is the number that Keller Williams will calculate whether or not you can qualify for luxury. You must have a certain percentage. I think it's 3 times the average sales price in your county. And you have to have a certain number of transactions within a 24-month period to then qualify for luxury. So that's what that's calculated on, FYI. Number of price reductions, up here, 567. Woo! That's not shocking, right? We were talking about that, like how some of these numbers here from previous weeks were just a little off in terms of the number of sold versus the number of new listings. It was still showing us that some people were overpriced. Look at that, 567, last year, 207. So we not only have it's not a huge increase in inventory in general, because even last year we were well below what we should have. So we're better than we were last year, but in any case, almost triple, pretty close, which is crazy. 99.96 houses are still selling pretty close to sales price or list price rather. 163 expireds. Lots of opportunity in Allegheny County for expireds. Last week, I was sitting with Allie during the agent call with Joe on Friday, and I was just like, man, I guess I gotta get into the expired business that wasn't typically up my alley. And I was like, I need to put a little box together. Dang, if she was just like, yeah, we can go into Canva and create something. I was like, girl, no. I went into Etsy, paid $14 for somebody's expired listing book, made it my own within like 2 hours. I was like, that's the best $14 I've ever spent. I was like, that's a smoothie, right? That's a smoothie at Tropical, right, Bianca? Anyway, I just thought that was funny. So total number of agents, it's up. So maybe some of those agents that didn't renew their license got their crap together and finally renewed. But 8,506. Look at this, y'all. I was just talking to Mike about this. 7.375, which is a point up from last week. However, look at that. It's the same as it was last year. So there's your talking point. Hey, buyer, what are you waiting for? That interest rate didn't go anywhere. It's the same. It's been stable. It's been stable. Okay. Even though the average is 7.082, it's the exact same interest rate this week as it was last year, same week. So, anybody have any questions or things going on that they want to share? Yes, ma'am.
Two things. I accepted an offer on my duplex yesterday. Thank you, thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Dun, dun, dun.
Also, how are you guys navigating like people saying, well, we're going to wait until housing prices go down? Because clearly they're not going down, they're going up and up and up and up and up.
I would come back to this. I would come back to this spreadsheet. Feel free to copy and paste the data to somebody. I would tell them to stop listening to national data.
Mhm.
Data in Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, is not showing that. It's absolutely not showing that. The current average of all the listings, 296, but look at the number. Like it's up over 50K, 55K. No. And, in the end, I know it sounds cliche, and Gary Keller, Jay Papas, they're all going to say it. It's never a bad time to purchase real estate. Never a bad time. You know, use the numbers. And I said this before to you when you were talking about, pricing that listing or whatever. You have to smother sellers with data. You have to smother them with data. They are off the charts. They just say, oh, everybody's getting this and getting that. And part of like the expired listing packet that I was putting together is like, what are the things? It was so funny. And I think I put it into ChatGPT, was like, what are the top reasons why property, sellers' homes aren't selling? And it's repeated in the top 10 in multiple different verbiages, but all of them had to do with a seller either being emotionally or sentimentally attached to the property or unwilling to compare their condition and details of their property to the comps in a realistic way. So we have to separate ourselves emotionally from people's outcomes. We're in this business to have like the long haul, right? We're in it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And 9 times out of 10, I think I told you about this. There's a parenting book called The Blessing of a Skinned Knee. Sellers have to lose, right? They have to sit on the market for a couple of weeks and start asking, oh, what's going on? Well, I don't know. You're the one that said you wanted to price it here. I gave you the data. The data says this, so you have to know these numbers. Like I have said this 800,000 times. And so I will just continue to repeat myself. I go to these numbers weekly. I reference the data weekly. So like when I was saying, if you're talking to a buyer, like, hey, hang on, the data from last year was that we like this time next year, the data from last year is at the beginning of July, we're going to see around a 40% increase. When I look at the data from last year, we weren't comping yet against 2022 yet because I didn't start tracking until August. But pretty soon we're going to have 2 years to compare against. We're going to start seeing trends. And I'm going to need to figure out Excel in a way that's going to show me little graphs or little pie, not a pie chart, but the little top chart that's going to say here's 2022, 2023, 2024. So we can really start looking at those trends. Y'all, this is like how you can have the utmost confidence in talking to your clients. And I've said this before too, pricing listings is my least favorite part of the job, but I've honed in on these numbers. I've honed in on how I break down my pricing strategy. And I'm telling you right now, in the last month, I have won 2 appraisal appeals, both VA. And those are very hard. The appeal process with VA is called Tidewater, and it's blind. You're not allowed to know what the appraisal came in. And the last one, I found out the listing or the buyer's agent shared the appraisal with me when it finally came back. It came in below our list price or purchase price, which was $875. So somewhere it came in below. We did the appeal and they came back to $890. So the data that I was able to provide to that appraiser helped it swing above 15K above what we're under contract for. So this is just like when you can feel confident with your processes. And I'm teaching a buyer class. When am I teaching a buyer class? I think it's next week. I'll have to confirm with Allie. But like, if y'all want to do like a seller class and dig into the Excel spreadsheet that I use and how I put numbers in and dig into that process, I'm happy to do that too, because that was always my most, the lack of confidence that I had in coming up with list price. Because if you're just going by RPR and you get someone that wants to list it a little bit higher, just man, that pit in your stomach when a buyer appraisal comes back and it's low. I had an agent say to me, because I asked, I know I'm going off a tangent here. I asked them to do an appraisal waiver with a certain amount. I was like, we're taking VA, are you willing to waive? And they said, yes, blah, blah, blah. But in any case, when it came back, she was just like, well, my office doesn't even let us list properties for above. Why are you asking for that waiver? Are you not confident in the pricing? And I was like, girl, I'm confident. I've got the numbers, And then oddly, that same property, I know I'm always getting anecdotal. Another listing agent, a high-end agent in Fox Chapel that lists a ton of $1 million properties, called me this week and said, hey, I'm about to list over in that area. Do you mind sharing with me how yours went? And I went ahead and told her, I probably shouldn't because we haven't closed yet, but I said, would you want my data? She's like, are you kidding me? Yes. Why wouldn't I share that? Because the next $1 million client that I have that's going to make an offer on one of her properties, she's going to be like, this girl is collaborative. She's professional. She's sharing information, and I told her about the house across the street that was about to close next week and all that data. I told her what our appraisal came back at. She was just like, this is saving my bacon today. She was super appreciative. So, have your numbers, she's next time she makes an offer on one of my listings, she's going to be like, Jennifer does, Jennifer gets her numbers together. So, if y'all want like a pricing strategy, little powwow, we can do that. I'll tell Allie to add it to the books if y'all want that.
That would be wonderful.
Great. Was that you, Alex? Good.
Yes.
And again, when I teach the buyers class, I don't know if Allie wants me to focus on what we're talking about in terms of the new changes. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the PAR emails, just FYI, PAR documents are changing July 1st, FYI. So just so you know, they can change documents at the end of the year and at the end of June, willy-nilly. So obviously they've changed some documents per the NAR settlement. So, this week we're going to see what those changes are. They're not going to roll them out until mid-July, and then they won't be officially being used until August. But I don't know which part Allie wants me to focus on, or if she just wants me to focus on. So you've got a buyer, what next? Mike sat through several of my conversations about buyer prep and how to have buyers be prepared for this market. So
Always good information.
thank you. So yeah, I will talk to Allie and we'll put a seller pricing strategies on the books. All right, everybody. So good to see y'all. Thank you so much for coming. And if you ever have any questions about this data, don't hesitate to call, and don't hesitate to reach out if you are pricing something and you're unsure about certain things. Just let me know.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
Thank you
everybody.
very much.
Have a
Have a
great
good 4th, everybody.
Happy 4th. Yes. See y'all
Woohoo.
later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.